Thanks for joining my presentation. I decided to focus on for a challenge the leadership in a remote workforce. So, in order for management to become successful in this new work style, they're going to have to follow what's called a POLC framework. Each of these facets are best described as functions of the manager's job already. So, whether they consciously know or not that they are doing each of these sections, in order for us to make sure that the company is going to be successful along with management, we're going to make sure that we put together a strategy that's going to follow this framework. So the first section is planning. So here we're going to be able to look at the mission and vision, goals and objectives, and then strategize off of these areas. The next area is organizing. So we'll be looking at the organizational structure along with job design. Then we have leading. So we're going to look at different types of leadership and direction, motivation, and communication. And finally, we'll look at control, which that has process and standards, review and evaluation, and corrective action. So the reason why I want to focus on this challenge is because this past year really put a high emphasis on the remote workforce. So in the past 5 years, remote workforce, it was there, but not many companies took advantage of it. And then moving forward over the last 10 years, it's starting to expand a little bit more. COVID-19 had a very big part in helping this out. And basically, we're anticipating the entire workforce to be able to become remote within the next 12 years. So we're seeing that this challenge is not going to be going away. If anything, it's going to become more prominent in our workforce. So it's going to be important that we learn about the different techniques and the different areas that management can help improve on so we can encourage employee retention, attraction retention, along with engagement. So our first area we look at is planning. And Iva Marinova was able to provide this great quote, which was a global survey conducted by Gartner found that 88% of business organizations all over the world mandated or encouraged all their employees to work from home as the virus started to spread at exponential rates. So during the height of this pandemic, when businesses were starting to reopen, companies had the option of having their workforce still remain remote. And a lot of what this quote is saying is that the 88% of those businesses opted into keeping their workforce remote. So now that many companies are making this decision to become remote, have their entire workforce operate this way, we need to look at the company's mission and vision statements. So this way the management team will be able to create a strategy that's going to incorporate both of the direction that the company is looking to go in. Then companies have also started to implement technology trainings for all managers to understand the different technology platforms they can access. This is going to be very crucial for communication between employees, making sure that they're remaining well connected and feeling that they have enough resources provided to them. And finally, part of the management training will also focus on identifying employee burnout, scheduling one-on-one meetings with each of the team members, and also emphasizing team happy hours to keep the company culture alive. That's going to be important in making sure that we're, as management, we can identify employee mental health to make sure that we are doing everything to best support our employees because we can't see them in person like in a traditional office setting. So continuing on, there was also the University of Minnesota was able to provide a great quote as well, which is in many ways, such as goals and objectives, provide a natural feedback loop that helps managers see when and how they are succeeding and where they might need to take corrective action. This is one reason goals and objectives should ideally be specific and measurable. So this is great because we want management to focus on goals and objectives, enhance communication, hone in on coaching skills, and become a better motivator, which will help increase the productivity, retention rates, and support and manage the change that ultimately the workforce is enduring during this time. Finally, the way management's going to be able to measure these goals is through having quarterly meetings with department heads and providing employee performances. This way, everybody can be on the same page and there's no miscommunication with this section. Next, we are going to look at the organization. So, Stanford University had said managers play a key role in keeping a company's workforce productive, positive, and united in transition to working remotely. These managers need to be equipped with training that teaches them the techniques for effectively leading a digital team. Communication, project management, and relationship building need to be approached from different angles while being conducted remotely. So again, this is emphasizing that management needs to understand that there's going to be new techniques and styles that have to be incorporated than from how maybe a manager would operate in a traditional office setting. Also, management needs to have those open lines of communication with their employees, very similar to what we were just discussing. Some of these different forms that managers need to use are the one-on-one meetings, always having video conferences, and also having video team meetings and utilizing the company intranet. It's important to always use the video feature because this is going to help not only your employee feel connected with the company, but also feel connected within the team, which again, just to reiterate, that's going to help keep that employee engagement, which management is going to be the ultimate provider for the company, is keeping their workforce engaged. Finally, management can also distribute a bi-weekly, either anonymous or they have the option of putting their name down for surveys. This is going to help managers keep a pulse on how their team is operating, how they think the company is doing. In addition, they can use this as an employee engagement survey to see how the employee thinks that they are doing within their job, whether the managers need to reach out more or not for them. So it's a great way to make sure that managers are also realizing what they're doing correctly or areas that they need to be improving on as well. Now we're going to be looking at the leadership. So managers need to be made aware of the 5 functions of leading, which are leadership, decision-making, communication, groups and teams, along with motivation. So Bridget Miller provided a great quote about leadership in this remote workforce, which is being able to utilize technology, recognize achievements, being proactive about staying in contact with the dispersed team, having great communication skills, be able to show trust and motivate employees, set and track goals, and having a realistic expectations and being self-motivated. These are different characteristics that are needed for leadership to increase that motivation. Again, management needs to be aware and conscious that these employees are operating in a new workforce where they don't have that constant either cheering from your manager or any type of making sure that the employees can stay on track with their goals. So managers need to be on top of this, communicate frequently. Some of those areas where they can do this type of communication is through the email. Zoom is very popular, Microsoft Teams, also company chats that are being utilized through the company intranet. So this way it's a secured VPN, are ways that managers are trying to keep their teams motivated. Also, managers need to utilize the different platforms. This, again, helps with not only engagement from just a single employee, but it also helps the team as a whole contribute new ideas and problem solve together. So this way we have more team interaction during this time as well. Finally, we're going to look at control. So it's the responsibility of the Human Resources Department to foster the different surveys that will be needed to measure employee satisfaction along with customer satisfaction for the company's balanced scorecard, which is going to be important to always reference back to make sure that you're staying on track with the goals that were set and they're being measured correctly. Creating the different trainings that will be needed for both the management and the employees. This will help the company stay up to date on latest software applications that might be out there to use, increase employee engagement, and then also it helps develop any protocols that are related to the pandemic so employees do know how to operate in certain situations. The leadership team will also, during this whole the POLC framework, they'll also become more strategic. And that will be useful when the company is looking to bring on new employees because the management will be able to have a better pulse on how the workforce is operating and they'll be able to conduct their interviews more productively, which will be more in a virtual setting since that's going to be the new format moving forward. Many companies are finding this to be an easier way to conduct their interviews. So thank you so much for joining me on my workforce challenge here of remote management. And I hope you all have a great holiday break.